It is 6 o'clock, and I call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Commerce City Council to order. Item 2 is our invocation. I would ask that we observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Item 3 is our Pledge of Allegiance. If you will rise, Councilman Reel will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4 is the consent agenda. Is there any item on the consent agenda any council person would wish to remove? If not, is there a motion?
Make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item 5, presentation to City Council by members of the public according to the directions listed in the agenda. I have no cards up here. Is there anyone wishing to address the council during this time period? If not, we'll move on to item 6. Presentation of proclamation honoring the work of Dr. Richard Selvaggi and celebrating his retirement and years of service to the citizens of Commerce. I will read the proclamation from here, and then I will ask the council, Dr. Rick and family, and all friends here for this occasion to gather up front, and let's get a picture of all of us together, if that's all right. Okay. City of Commerce proclamation. Be it known to all citizens of the City of Commerce, Texas, whereas Dr. Rick Selvaggi retired on November 6, 2021, after diligently serving the citizens of Commerce through personal, professional, and volunteer work for over 35 years, and whereas Dr. Rick was one of 6 children born to Air Force parents and graduated from Tehran American School in Tehran, Iran. After only taking 2 years to earn a degree in molecular biology from the University of Texas at Austin, Dr. Rick earned his medical degree from the University of Texas Medical Branch at Galveston and completed a family practice residency program in Gadsden, Alabama, and later earned an additional board certification in gerontology. And whereas Dr. Rick completed his residency in 1983 and spent a few years moving around the country before settling in Commerce in 1987 and starting a medical practice with his brother Tom and their sister Sue serving as the office manager. And whereas Dr. Rick has given back to the Commerce community in many ways, including serving as a volunteer with Girl Scouts, the Northeast Texas Children's Museum, the Commerce Independent School District's Athletics Department, and the Texas A&M University Commerce Physics Department. And whereas Dr. Rick also found the time to talk to middle school and high school classes about suicide prevention and drug abuse prevention, and provided free yearly sports physicals to every Commerce ISD athlete. And whereas Dr. Rick is also the medical director of several nursing homes in the area, and even made many house calls over his lengthy career. His specialty was geriatric medicine, and his dedication and commitment to our most vulnerable residents is commendable. And therefore, I, Wyman Williams, Mayor of the City of Commerce, Texas, do hereby proclaim November 16, 2021 to be Dr. Rick Selvaggi Day in the City of Commerce, Texas. I hereby recognize and congratulate Dr. Rick on his retirement and thank him for his longtime commitment to serving our community.
Arctic.
All I see him is going 74? Okay, I'll take 74. And there it goes again.
Thank you for all you did for this community and everyone, all y'all that y'all did for the community.
Well, thank you. We
And I was
appreciate
thinking
you.
about the very thing earlier today about, so you were here when he came and you were here when I came and Mr. Commerce.
Thank you.
I was just thinking, I should have put some first. We do need to let them know.
Hey, party.
Some people do, others don't.
Okay, we're ready for item 7. Discussion and possible action on a resolution casting 161 votes allocated to the City of Commerce for Hunt County Appraisal District Board of Directors for the 2022-2023 term.
Mayor, City Council, Howdy Lisenby, City Manager. This item does call for a formal resolution. As you recall, the Hunt County Appraisal District is governed by a Board of Directors, and each taxing entity within the district is granted a number of votes in which they can cast for members of that Board of Directors. We have 161 votes, which can be cast for any of the people on the ballot. And typically what has happened is the city and Commerce ISD typically combine their votes to vote for the same person, and by doing so guarantees at least one seat on the district is from Commerce. And so this year's nominees are Tyson Cox, John Kelso, Mitch Moore, Paul Painter, John Sands, Stephen Stone, Mike Taylor, and Howard Winans. Our nominee was John Sands, and he's been representing Commerce and Commerce ISD for a number of years. And so we need a motion on how you want to cast our 161 votes. You can cast them all for one person, or you can split them up amongst others. We are ready to proceed however you prefer, Mayor.
Okay. Has anyone a motion for our votes?
I move that we cast the 161 votes for John Sands.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Item 8, discussion and possible action on a resolution authorizing the award of contract for the construction of the wastewater treatment plant master lift station pump replacement project and authorizing the city manager to execute all necessary documentation.
Mayor, Council, Howdy Lisenby, City Manager. This project is one that has been a long time coming. I think Mike can confirm. And at the wastewater treatment plant, at the front end of that plant, if you will, are a series of 3 pumps. Imagine, if you will, that the City of Commerce is a really, really large bowl, and all of the sewer flows downhill to the bottom of that bowl. The bottom of our bowl is located at the beginning of our wastewater treatment plant. And the role of these pumps is to pick up or suck up the water at the bottom of that bowl, lift it up, and start moving it through the treatment process. Of those 3 pumps, 2 of them have been in failure status for a number of years. The one working pump we have, we recently lost one of the electrical legs, and so it's not running efficiently, and it's running hot every day. Could fail at any moment. And so this project is the full replacement of all 3 of our pumps. When I first got here, this project had already been started, and there was some discussion about the budget. We had an idea, a budget of about $300,000, and the question was whether we could do all 3 pumps with that amount or not. We ultimately set the project budget to $500,000 to allow us to do the pumps and any other necessary work. Based on the design that Mike Tibbetts and his team put together, we recently bid this project out. We had 4 bids from qualified bidders. Low bid was Fryer Construction, who has done work at our plant before. Their low bid was $309,900. Next bid was $327,999. We had one for $430,860, and the final bid was $496,500. And so lowest responsible bid was Fryer Construction for $309,900. Mike and his team vetted these and is prepared to make his comments and recommendations. One of the things that we are doing is that his bid was for $309,900. So we're recommending that we award the contract to him in that amount, but we're also asking that the council add $50,000 to this contract as an owner's contingency. The role of an owner's contingency is the contractor has to build the project as it's designed and as it's specified by the engineers. But if you've ever done a construction project, at some point in time during the project, something's going to come up that you didn't anticipate. If we only award the project for the $309,900, then when that something comes up, we'll likely be coming back to you for a change order. By putting an owner's contingency in the contract, it gives us the flexibility to respond to those issues as long as it is below that $50,000 threshold. Anything over $50,000 would come back to council as a potential change order. And so this allows us to move quickly and get this project in place. That's also critical because we only have one pump working and one of the electrical legs just went out. And so we're anxious to see some progress on this. We're asking for a total award of $359,900.
When was the last time all three pumps worked? Do you remember? When the plant was built? Is the design for all three pumps to come on when it's raining? Is that what they, to prevent the flooding?
Yes, sir. Typically, you have one pump that comes on first, and if it can't keep up, the water level in this big tank we call a wet well continues to rise, and the second pump will come on, and then that doesn't keep up, and the third will come on. The pump that we have now it may be doing 1,000 gallons a minute, maybe 750. The new ones will be 2,000 gallons a minute each. Now, the way pumps work, you can't add three of them together and get 6,000. Two together may put out 3,000. All three together make it 4. But it's a vast improvement over what's there now.
Good. And what's the timing on this? Another year before we celebrate?
The pumps have about a 12-week lead time.
Mm-hmm.
They come in. So the contractor can be ordering that equipment and the valves. So you can't do much until the pumps get here.
Yeah.
Now, there's two pumps that, of course, are down, so he could be working on the valves on those. But, and also these are a new kind of pump. Ones that are there now are supposed to be non-clogged, but with the advent of flushable wipes and with the advent of COVID, where everybody was wiping things down and putting those in the toilet, they don't break down like a paper towel. They wind up at the sewer plant and they wrap around everything, and it's very difficult. Well, these pumps are called chopper pumps. They have a mechanism that chops those pieces up and keeps it from clogging up the pump. TJ's got some pictures of some massive wad balls of those rags that out of sight, out of mind, but it ends up being TJ's problem. So these new pumps will address that issue.
Great, thank you. Are there questions, or is there a motion related to this item?
I move that we approve the resolution awarding the construction contract for the wastewater treatment plant pump replacement project for our construction for a total of $359,000.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I will add that we have an application before the TCEQ. We are currently under enforcement for sewer overflows that happened over the last number of years. The fine from the state is $54,000 and change. The application that we have in front of the state right now is to allow this project to serve as our fine. They've agreed verbally that they'll let that work. We're just waiting on the paperwork to come through. That should prevent us from having to write any checks to the state and use that money instead to make sure this project's completed successfully.
Great. Item 9, discussion and possible action on a resolution authorizing the award of contract for the design of street and drainage improvements within the City of Commerce and authorizing the city manager to execute all necessary documentation.
Sorry. Mayor, Council, Howdy Lisenby, City Manager. This is a milestone to be celebrated, in my opinion. When I interviewed for this job, one of the first questions that Council asked me is, do I have any experience working on streets? We have a number of them that have built-in speed bumps and are not necessarily popular within the community. City Council did a study a couple of years ago on the quality of our streets, and there's been discussions on the creation of a plan and a strategy to start reconstructing and maintaining some of these streets. This is the first of many projects to come that we hope. We worked with Friesen Nichols. We did a request for qualifications. Based on qualifications, we selected the traffic team at Friesen Nichols. They did the cursory study on a number of streets to help us identify which projects to fund first. And so for this particular design contract, we're looking to design crack seal maintenance activities on Monroe Street from Live Oak to Walnut. That is a fairly new street. It's actually in good shape. A very small amount of money relatively. You can come into a crack seal, That'll help extend the life of that road and keep it in good condition. We're looking to resurface Park Street from Maple all the way to Culver, basically where that cuts through City Park. And then the intersection at Aldridge, those fun dips in the road there will get leveled out a little bit. That will be a resurface project. We'll do a full reconstruction of Hickory Street between Chestnut and Maple. And we're looking to do a full reconstruction of Washington Street from Live Oak all the way to Culver. And so this is a pretty substantial scope of work. Friesen Nichols has submitted a proposal that would be all of the design and construction administration work. And then I've also asked them during construction, when they come in to do inspections, they'll take our staff, walk us through that inspection process so that our guys are beginning to get some training and learning how to inspect and what to look for in street construction projects. The agreement is written as a not to exceed. Usually when you do professional services, some firms like to do a lump sum. Lump sum contract means no matter how much work they do, they get paid the same. This particular project is a not to exceed, so they'll bill us based on work and hours. If they complete the project and it comes in under this amount, we save money. If it goes over this amount, we're capped at $218,613. I've done a number of projects with Friesen Nichols. Typically, when I get a not to exceed contract, I typically come in under their budget. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to manage this project. Finally, I will point out that their fee is 7.9% of the proposed project budget, which is below typical industry standards for a project like this. And so I feel like we're getting a really good deal for this design services from Friesen Nichols. You may notice they've already got some traffic counters, the little black tubes across Washington. They're already working on some of the design stuff because we had money left over from phase 1 study. We came in under budget, and so we went ahead and started some of the traffic counts so that we could start collecting some of that data. Staff is recommending the award of this contract to Friesen Nichols with a not to exceed amount of $218,613. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any sidewalks included?
At this time, no, but we are working on, we got some additional data from the streetlight services, and we're working on putting a map together to show where pedestrian traffic happens in our community, so that when we put a sidewalk plan together, we're putting sidewalks where the people are currently walking and not creating sidewalks to nowhere. That's in progress. But this particular design right now does not include sidewalks.
Other questions? Is there a motion?
Move that we authorize the award of contract for the construction of the design and street and drainage improvements with the City of Commerce, and authorizing the city manager to execute all necessary documentation.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item 10, second reading, discussion and possible action on an ordinance granting to Atmos Energy Corporation, its successors and assigns, a franchise to construct, maintain, and operate pipelines and equipment in the City of Commerce, Hunt County, Texas, for the transportation, delivery, sale, and distribution of gas in, out of, and through the city for all purposes, providing for the payment of a fee or charge for the use of the public rights of ways, and providing that such fee shall be in lieu of other fees and charges, accepting ad valorem taxes, and repealing all previous gas franchise ordinances.
Mayor, Council, Howdy Lisenby, City Manager. We have Beth with Atmos Energy that's here to answer any questions that you may have, but this is the second reading. You were presented with the franchise agreement at our last meeting, so we're here to answer any questions that you may have in the consideration of this item.
Any questions? If not, is there a motion?
I move that we accept the second reading.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item 11, first reading. Discussion and possible action on amending Chapter 14, Amusements and Entertainment, by adding Chapter 5, game rooms, providing a penalty and providing for an effective date.
Yeah, but it won't be on video.
Now it is.
Now it's green. All right. Good evening. Kind of threw me off there a little bit. With recent legislative updates, the Texas legislature amended Chapter 234 of the Local Government Code, which basically gave counties the flexibility to adopt and modify game rooms and kind of address them. They've been a problem within Hunt County for a number of years, and the Commissioners Court recently adopted an ordinance that allows the sheriff to go in and regulate these game rooms. This ordinance basically amends Chapter 5 and mirrors the county ordinances, which gives us the same powers as the county, except that it makes it a Class C here within the city to operate an illegal game room. The ordinance is not designed to shut down game rooms. Kind of pop in there. It only lets us regulate them. Basically, what it does is if you want to operate a game room and have gambling establishments or machines within your business within the city of Commerce, you have to register them so that we know what's going on. There is a fee established in this that they would have to pay yearly to the city. It also gives us enforcement about who they can hire to run these game rooms. Around these game rooms, we see a lot of minor crimes pop up, a lot of theft associated with it, small narcotics trades, different things like that. So the object behind this is to curb that and get it under control with these game rooms. Like I said, it pretty well mirrors the counties. It also puts some hours of operation in that tells when they can operate these games rooms. It deals with not only the convenience stores that have the little 8-liners, but also a true game room that comes in or wants to come in and set up the 8-liners or any other type of amusement game. What it does not deal with and what it does not prevent is if a church, for instance, runs a bingo on a Wednesday night as a standing bingo, if they do that, they have to have a permit from the Texas Lottery Commission anyway. It leaves that exemption in there that they can still operate. It does not address a small business such as a nonprofit that wants to hold a bingo one night throughout the year. It doesn't address that. If they do that and they get prizes donated, that's fine. If they're not selling $20 every night, every Wednesday, and giving away cars, it doesn't. It's a true gambling ordinance and won't address that. It's a pretty lengthy ordinance. I'm not sure if y'all read every word. I know it's a lot. But we feel that with everything happening in the south part of the county and with these changes throughout the county, Commerce needs to be on the same page as the county and address these before they become any more of a problem than we're already seeing. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
How does this affect those that are currently in operation?
So basically within the ordinance it says if they're operating a business right now that's legal, for example, Jamie has a game room over here and it's within everything and she's operating it correctly, it won't fall under this ordinance until she sells it or changes hands. So if everything's in order and she's operating perfectly legal, then she will stay. I hate to use the grandfather clause, but we're not going to come back and go, you've got to pay your fine and register your machines. Now, we will go in and look at those machines, and they're still subject to the county ordinance as well. But on ours, until they change hands on a true game room, they're there. Now, on the convenience stores and all, we're going to go in and we're going to have to look at everything and see how they're operating and how they're classified. So there may be some that are operating illegally that we'll look at, but if they're in order and everything's good, then it'll be until the next one rolls over and they sell it.
Other questions? Is there a motion?
I move that we approve this ordinance regulating game rooms in the city of Commerce.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, Chris. Item 12. First reading, hearing and possible action on an ordinance authorizing a change in zoning from industrial district to planned development district for property ID 21898, legal description A0109, Bond West, tract 26 acres, 16.659.
Mayor, Council, Howdy Lisenby, City Manager. This is somewhat similar to the Bloomfield Homes project that we saw for their planned development, just slightly smaller in scale. The map on the screen is going to show you the location. There is a tract of land that's in the blue rectangle that is to the east of Legacy Homes. The developer is y'all have just an option on this right now? Yeah, they've got an option to purchase it subject to the zoning approval. It's zoned industrial right now, and they're looking to do approximately 63 lot residential housing subdivision. Basically, all of the standards would be our typical R7 residential zoning. We just decided to go with the planned development so that we could add language about screening along the border between them and Legacy Homes, similar to the conversation we had with Hydro and the Bloomfield Homes development. One of the other things to consider is there will be required some utility extensions of water and sewer lines to serve this property. I did have a cursory conversation with Mike with Hayter Engineering. We are confident that services can be provided there. Once we have a better idea what that looks like, staff will most likely bring you a 380 development agreement for us to participate in the cost of that line. One of the main reasons being we want to make sure we upsize that line so that we have capacity to handle future growth and development over in that area of town. As an example, I'm not saying these are the exact sizes, but in theory, if you could serve their community, their development with a 6-inch water line, then all they would be required to do is put in a 6-inch water line, but that may not give us excess capacity for future growth. So we would want a larger line than that 6-inch to allow for that capacity, and that would lead to our participation. And so once we've got some more data, we'll likely come back with a 380 agreement for this particular project so that the city can cooperate in the cost of some of those utilities for both water and sewer. I'll let the applicant come up and make some comments, but staff is recommending this zone approval. But if y'all wanted to make some comments, you're welcome to do so.
Good evening. How's it going? I'm Shane. This is Eb. We're at Countryside Developments. Like Howdy mentioned, we're trying to do roughly 63 to 64 houses on this plot of land. We walked it, looks good, has a lot of potential, and we think it'd be a good area. So houses will be anywhere from 12 to 1,600, maybe bigger if the market supports it. We're trying to keep the housing under 250 in that area because there's a large demand for housing in that price range. So I'm not sure what else to touch on. If I got any questions you want to ask us.
You have done this in other communities?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we've done. We're in Caddo Mills. I'm local here. I was raised in Cooper and graduated from A&M Commerce, and Zeb's from Paris area. We're done a 51 housing development in Caddo Mills called Fox Meadows. We're doing another one now that's got 59 houses in it. We did 10 houses in Cooper, and we've got several other projects under contract that we're going to be doing more houses there as well.
Great. Other questions?
I couldn't see from, reviewed your drawings and everything, the plans you have for the homes. Are they brick or siding, or what's the exterior look like?
We haven't made the final determination on that. We were going to talk to Howdy about that, see kind of what y'all's requirements were, if you had any on that. The ones we've been doing have been the majority of siding. It's kind of popular these days. People want to paint their houses different colors and kind of spruce up the community, but we're not opposed to doing brick as well.
One of the things that council had stated for some of they're actually just outside of the neighborhood empowerment zone. But when we do a 380 agreement, we'll probably layer in some of the benefits of the neighborhood empowerment zone because they're just right across the line. Council in previous agreements have asked for some kind of masonry product, and some of the houses that are being built in our neighborhood empowerment zone have a siding that satisfies those requirements, and typically that's what they've been constructing. And so as we cross this hurdle, then we'll start answering some of those next level questions.
Yeah, siding's a lot superior product than it used to be back in the day, so it's worked out well for us.
But also, state law removed our ability to mandate building materials, but we can negotiate that in the course of a 380 agreement.
Other questions? If not, is there a motion?
Make a motion that we pass on the first reading.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Welcome to
Thank you.
Commerce.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
gentlemen.
Look forward to it.
Item 11, City Manager's Report.
There was no public input, and so we will skip on to the finance update from Ms. Jamie.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So, we did get our November sales tax. I have not gotten our November detailed, but I do have your October detail. So, just to kind of touch on where we are as of November, so we are above budget, and we are slightly above where we were November last year. And so when I kind of dug into our differences for October 2020 and 2021, what I was anticipating was that we have one specific vendor that tends to pay at different times during the year. Every year is kind of different. That was not the case. It was actually truly just because of purchasing. It was just the drive of sales. So I'm anticipating to see that that vendor actually paid in November just like they did last year. So I just found that it was due to the overall higher spending. November tends to have a higher revenue overall due to vendors who only record their sales tax on a quarterly basis, and the majority of those come in November. So that's why we tend to see that spike in November. We see that spike in January. So that's what that comes from. So if we go over to retail, so again, this is back to our October, our detail analysis in October. Retail trade continues to be our main generator for revenue. But in October, sales tax revenue generated from manufacturing, I saw a really large increase, and it was 91% compared to 2020. So digging into this, I saw that it was not just local manufacturing companies, but it was actually manufacturing products that were being purchased. So it goes back to if we're doing lots of building here and people are buying manufacturing products, and because they're maybe buying it online and getting it shipped here, we're seeing that sales tax revenue. So it goes kind of hand in hand with, are we building here? Are we seeing increase in building? So we'll see that sales tax as well.
If you'll recall, when Bloomfield Homes was here making their presentation, one of the things they talked about is that as they get into construction of their homes, their subcontractors and their materials will be purchased in a way so that the sales tax are generated and credited to our community, and that will definitely help us.
Yes, and we see it here just in the manufacturing. So I thought that was like an interesting, because I was like, what? 91% in manufacturing, and it turns out that it's just in a couple of names of vendors that I didn't recognize, and doing research on them, they're really just manufacturing products that are being shipped here. So it's an interesting little tidbit. So going over to looking at our retail trade overall, in October 2020, we had a very similar retail breakdown. So we're still kind of seeing that steady trend of where we were at COVID last year, where we are kind of still moving through COVID, past COVID. And in 2019, October, the only difference is that department stores had a slightly larger section they were at 36%. So even though we're still getting a little bit more revenue than we have been, our spread is still very, what is the word I'm thinking of? It's skewed, but it's still on trend. It's not shifting. We're not seeing dramatic changes. And so even though we're fighting our way through COVID, we're still seeing growth, but we're still seeing it very much in the same place over the last few years. And then when we move on over to accommodation and food services in October, if I go back over the last couple of years, we're still seeing the effects of COVID in our full service restaurants. So even though we're actually seeing more revenue in our food and accommodation than we have over the last few years, because more people are eating out, more people are probably sick of cooking at home and they want to get out and eat. In 2019, 52% of our revenue here was at full service restaurants. And so now it's only 44%. And so we still see that our full service restaurants are still trying to make up for that COVID. It's better than it was last year. Last year it was at 40%. So they're still working on it. It's still getting better, but it's not where it was in 2019. But we're still getting more revenue than 2019, so that's good. I mean, we're still working on it, but the spread has changed. Okay, so here's your new property tax revenue slide. I hope you like it. So I gave you a lot more information. So I wanted to show you that your property tax is not just maintenance and operations, but it's also our debt payments. And so we have reached 0.5% of our property tax revenue, and only $17,000 of our property tax. And I just kind of wanted to break it down, something new, something different. And so at the very bottom, you'll see a bar graph. This is our delinquent taxes that surprisingly only go back to 1993, which I thought was very shocking. And so delinquent taxes every year, I'll have an updated number for you. And so in every month, I get payments for delinquent taxes. And we get a little bit of benefit for interest and penalties that people have to pay for not paying their taxes on time. We get a portion of that. And so you'll be able to see this bar graph shift a little bit, because I do budget for that, but I budget very low. But sometimes if we're selling off these properties, we have a lot on that we're getting back out there, right? We're getting back out and we're trying to sell them, get them back on the property tax roll. I think this is where you'll see the benefit. This is where you'll see that some of this delinquent payments are coming off. They're getting paid. And so I wanted you to be able to see that, be able to view it. Up on the top left, this is going to be, it's going to be a gauge. As we get more revenue, you'll be able to see it. I know you can't really see it right now. Our budget is $3.37 million. That includes M&O and debt, INS. And so I didn't break it out here because honestly, our property tax is both. Our citizens are paying both. And so I break it out for you over on the right. But for us, we adopted a tax rate of 82 cents. So that's the number I want to give you, is of that 82 cents, how much have we received? And of course, on the right, you can break out and see how much it is. So that is your new property tax slide. I'm very proud of it.
Good job.
Thank you. So then the last thing that I have for you is this year's budget in brief document. So last year it was really short. It was, I think, only 4 pages. This year, Howdy decided to add like 1 million charts. So it's 8 pages long, and I've given each of you 5 copies. Please share it with whoever is halfway interested in our budget. But it takes our 300-page budget, and it just kind of condenses it into the highlights. We're going to put it in PDF form on our website, and I believe that we'll probably be blasting it out on Facebook and just letting people know that it's there. I know sometimes the budget can be a lot of information to swallow, and so this just kind of lets you know, what is your property tax look like for the average home here in Commerce? What does that bill look like? It's not just us that makes up your property tax. It's the school, it's the hospital, it's everything. We also kind of talk about, benchmarking the cities around us. What it takes for us to raise $500,000 in revenue is totally different than Greenville and Paris and Sulphur Springs. And so it gives people just a little bit of insight. And then on this page, on the next page, it just kind of talks about where, on the general fund, where all of our revenue comes from and how it's broken down and how our sales tax is growing. And I also just kind of put a snippet about the American Rescue Plan, which is the federal funding that we're getting, and how we're going to be using it. Remember, we're using it towards our public safety department and helping them get wages that are more competitive, and also to be using it towards revenue that we should have been getting if COVID hadn't happened, which is a very complicated calculation. And then I have your general fund expenditure. So I did some grouping of departments and just kind of shows you where that money goes, how are we spending it, and then benchmarking our cities around us and how much their general fund is and their population and how much per capita they can spend per person compared to us. And then how's our fund balance been going? And so you see that we had a pretty healthy fund balance in 2015. We see a pretty dramatic drop in 2018, but we've been working really hard to rebuild it. And I think that it's just going to keep building. And so it goes in, it kind of follows the same things through the public utility fund. We touched on the water rates. We used Howdy's table for the water rates, and talked about why it was so important. And the public utility fund balance that I discuss here is really important because it kind of talks about this whole gray area that says our fund balance is really healthy. It's also very restricted. We can't spend it on anything. So the very small blue that we have there is the only funds that I can spend that's unrestricted. That's, woo, I can spend that money. So it's really important. And then, of course, all of our amazing projects that you guys approved this year in our CIP plan, and all of your beautiful faces at the bottom with your email addresses, and a link to our 300-page budget is there. And so please use it. We have extra copies, and they're there for the public. It's just an easy way to take a little bit of the budget and kind of maybe help them understand a little bit better, because nobody likes the budget except for me, and that's okay. So that's all I have for you guys tonight.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Excellent. Did the legislature act on anything related to revenue increases for small cities this next year?
I'm not aware of
We're not aware of anything changing. So we had a bonanza this year.
Molly, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Now for your calendar of upcoming events. It's the holidays, so we've got plenty to talk to you about. This Friday, November 19th, the Staff Council for Texas A&M Commerce is hosting their 6th annual holiday market craft fair. This is hosted at Morris Recreation Center on Highway 24, and it'll be going on Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. I know personally our staff enjoys taking our lunch and spending it over there every year when they have this. So they have lots of different vendors. They display and sell a variety of handmade crafts, home decor, seasonal decorations, boutique style clothing, jewelry, and accessories. So we encourage you all to stop by the university and participate in the holiday market this Friday.
I will say for the record that it has been stated in City Hall that the ladies get to go to market on Friday. And so those of us guys have decided to go find the gun shop instead.
The chief of police may or may not be joining us at the holiday market. We have some really exciting news to share from Commerce Parks and Recreation and Friends of the Commerce Dog Park. The long-awaited opening of our dog park, the grand opening, will take place on November 29th. So mark your calendars. That'll start at 4 p.m. Following the grand opening ceremony, they're having an event, their first event at the dog park, cardio for canines. So you can register. I believe the university is participating, hosting that event at our dog park. So you can register for that event. There's a Friends of the Commerce Dog Park Facebook page, and you can register for that event there. So we hope to see everybody November 29th. I believe that's a Friday. Is that a Friday? November 29th. Is it a Monday?
I believe it's a Monday, yeah.
Yes. So that's at 4 p.m. So it's the time of the year for Commerce Little Angels. They're up and running at the Walmart. I'm going to let Miss Becky Thompson give some details on that.
Thanks, Molly. Applications went out to our schools at the end of October. The closing date on those applications was last Friday. We're in the process of getting all those cards typed up and some of them on the tree and get them out in the community. Right now we have a little over 400 kids. So we got a busy time ahead of us. The distribution day will be December the 17th, and it'll be at the Masonic Lodge there on Main Street. It is 1227 Main Street, and the time frame will be 9 until 6 o'clock in the evening. Now, we'd appreciate everyone that works with this, all the community that adopts angels, and I think this is somewhere around the 30th year that this program in some form has been going. So.
Thank you.
So as a reminder, December 10th will be the drop-off date. So if you grab an angel off the tree, please do your best to return it by December 10th to either Commerce City Hall. Commerce Police Department is also a drop-off. Cypress Bank, Guarantee Bank, and Chase Bank you can take to any of those places. So this year, the Hunt County Senior Service Alliance is partnering with Script, and they're doing their annual Warmth Drive project. This is something that they started last year. This will be the second annual Warmth Drive. The mission of this project is they create blessing boxes and provide them to at-risk seniors in Hunt County. Last year, they donated over 200 boxes. Of those, 56 of those boxes went to high-risk seniors here in Commerce. This year, they're increasing the recipient number to 300 seniors across Hunt County. So their monetary goal to make those 300 boxes is $15,000. These blessing boxes include a sweatsuit, a fall-resistant house shoes, socks, and a blanket. And this year they're adding a battery-operated flashlight to those boxes to provide to at-risk seniors during the cold winter months. So those boxes have a monetary value of approximately $40 a box. So to reach their goal of those 300 boxes, they're looking for monetary donations to meet that $15,000 goal. They have nomination forms where you can nominate seniors to receive a box. And then they also have donor forms, so you can visit the Script website for more information on that. So the First United Methodist Church is conducting their annual Mary Marketplace and Lunch for Missions. They conduct that every year on the first Saturday of December from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. I got word today that they're conducting that online, but you can visit the First United Methodist Church website or their offices to learn more about their Mary Marketplace and Lunch for Missions. And then the Northeast Texas Children's Museum is hosting their annual Brunch with Santa. There are tickets available, I believe, through their website, and that will take place on Saturday, December 11th from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. You can purchase tickets in advance, and then children under the age of 2 eat for free. I don't know if Miss Thompson or Miss Hunter have anything to add to that. Couple other things we have. The annual Bodak Christmas Parade will take place on Saturday, December 11th. We have a lot of events going on downtown on December 11th this year. A lot of you have probably noticed that the Commerce Downtown Alliance had the windows painted downtown for multiple businesses. And so if you haven't had a chance to yet, certainly take a look around downtown and look at all the window paintings. And while you're doing that, join us December 11th for the parade. I believe that kicks off about 6 o'clock in the evening on December 11th. After that, we'll have our first annual Christmas tree lighting right here in downtown. So there's right across the street a Christmas tree that we'll be doing our first annual lighting for. That will take place after the Christmas parade on December 11th at approximately 7:30.
Thank you. I do have one personnel update. We want to introduce our new communications intern, Kayla Bolden, has joined us, and so she is an intern working with us from the university, getting a degree in marketing, and has a bright future ahead of her. We're going to begin to see some increased quantity and quality of communications, primarily through social media. And so I think we're soon to have a Twitter account, may or may not have little short TikTok videos. I don't know. The sky's the limit, but we're going to be trying to increase the communication that we send out with the community so that they can know what's going on. And then to wrap up, you have an updated, each month you'll get one of these project sheets that shows you how these projects are progressing as we go through. Just a couple of things to point out for the animal shelter and the splash pad. We are going to be using design build as the method to deliver those projects. So we're going to start procurement for the design build consultants this month. I'm trying to finalize those RFQ packets this week. Park improvements for Ivory Moore and at City Park. We had our consultant in town on November the 11th. And did site visits at those parks. The budgets that you approved for these locations are very healthy and going to give us lots of options and ability to put playgrounds at both locations that are inclusive in nature. And so we hope to have some potential designs to take to the Parks Advisory Committee probably in December, but really start fleshing things out in January. And then for the Raw Water Motor Control Center that is out at Lake Tawakoni, that project is currently under bid. We completed design. Bids are out on the street. Those bids are due, I think, in 2 weeks from now. And so we will have a contract award for you to consider in December for that water project. So everything is moving along aggressively in many cases. And so we'll keep you updated And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. That concludes the city manager's report. And if you have any questions.
If there are none, we'll go to item 14, recess into executive session. We will be working under the law 551.0711 and 551.0712. Our topics will include Larry Calvin and Barbara Calvin versus the City of Commerce, and Gay L. Harrison, cause number 90362. Orvis Wayne Reynolds versus the City of Commerce, case number CV-01577-S, and under 551.074 to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassessment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. City manager. Is there a motion related to executive session?
Move that we go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you so much.
7:04.
And the time is 7:05.
7:05. All right.
You got it. Appreciate it. Is that the way it works? Are we online?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. At 7:33, I call this regular session back to order, and knowing of no other business that we must take care of, I'm going to pound the gavel. It was 7:34 before I started, and it still is.
Oh, we got staff to do it. We got staff to do it tomorrow. No.